So as we begin into Loma Viloma series, so it's a really nice time for me to little bit talk about some of the energy concepts, energy ideas, principles, and then hopefully some of the concepts or some of the principles of Hatha Yoga practices in Tantric tradition in our lineage that we follow, and also more foundation or the basic behind asana, the posture, Hatha Yoga will have a little bit more sense to you, more than just the physical body in many ways. Now I know, like in our sort of modern concept, we believe in this principle of one body idea, the one body concept, and even on that, the way medical science really works these days, they want to divide everything. Someone works with the heart, someone works with the breathing, someone works with your skin, someone works with your joints, someone works with your muscular system. So there is a big diversity or the big divergence between even our each or individual system when it comes to the holistic body, our food body, this physical body, which is simply known to us as made of food, made of physical elements that can be felt, touched, smelt, or tasted. You can bite it, you can hurt yourself, you can touch yourself, you can touch somebody else. So we can feel it, we can see it. So really this physical world, this physical body is the subject or the object of our sensory perception, because we can experience it through our senses. Now, good thing, in last sort of 20-30 years, science has also accepted the second body, which is our mind body. And another good thing now, in last sort of 10 years, they are also accepting that a problem in our body is just not simply a physical body, there is also the psychological element. So they have come up with this new term known as psychophysiological or psychosomatic. So there is a root of problem, root of issue that takes place in our mind, and then it manifests into a physical body. But if you go backward like 20, 30 years ago, they used to completely see the mental problems and then the physical problems. They used to see it like, oh, there is no connection. Now we're talking about the problems which are caused due to stress or mental issues, anxieties, worries, fear. They all are causing different health issues. We know that if we suffer with the anxieties or worry, our digestive system gets affected with it. If we suffer with emotional ups and downs, our heart gradually suffer with it. So there is a relation between our physical and our mental health or mental well-being. But when we look into the yogic concept, the yogic idea, it says no, that's the two-body concept is not enough. It explains or it divides our existence into 5 body systems, 5 body ideas, pancha kosha. So it says no, there is not one body, there is not two body, actually there are 5 bodies, and those 5 bodies are interlinked, infused between each other, and while those 5 bodies are together, you are alive, you are healthy, you are living. And when those 5 bodies find their own way out, they divide, they separate, they find their own ways to go into different directions, I guess we're not alive anymore. And in that moment, all the elements from where our body comes from, where the body is made from, all those elements go back to their source. Earth goes back to earth, water goes back to water, air goes back to air, heat goes back to heat, and space goes back into space. Which I'm sure if you look into the whole process, it's much easier, much simpler to understand. So yoga explains that this one or two body concept is not enough. There is something more than that in us. There is something more, it's just not, you're not just made of this body, you're not just made of this mind. And if you look into your day-to-day experiences, your day-to-day being, everyday life, there is something more in you. Sometimes you can feel this blast of energy. Sometimes you feel like you got nothing in you, even though your physical body and your mind body is there. Still you feel like, what's the point? Why am I doing it? Or we haven't got energy to do things. And sometimes you just feel like you're just like a buzzy bee. You just want to get all the honey from the whole universe and collect into nectar and divide it, give it to everyone else you can. Where does the energy come from? So the yogic idea is that there is a 5-body system, pancha kosha system. It begins with our physical body, with our food body. So I guess you can grow from gross to subtle or subtle to gross. There is a two-way to look at things, isn't it? The one way we can look at as a process of manifestation, evolution, and then one way you can look at process of involution. Things coming into existence, whatever comes to existence, we also know that the other side of truth is it's also going back to where it comes to. So if you look from the gross, then we have the physical body, this annamaya kosha, body made of food, body made of all the gross 5 elements. Then we have the manomaya kosha, the mind body. This body is made of your experiences, your thoughts, your mental attitude, all that your mind carries on. Then we have the third body which actually holds it together, which is the pranamaya kosha, the pranic body, the energy body. Now I do think the easiest way to understand pranic body is just thinking of the gravitational force of our earth. Think we have the same gravitational force with our body too. Or what gravitational force does? It holds everything together. Think if we lose this gravitational force, what will happen? Earth will become moon, wouldn't it? The air, the water, all the life, all the elements that's creating life on the planet will disappear. So you can think of this pranic body like the electromagnetic, this gravitational force the earth holds together, or earth has, that holds the life together. So we also have this pranic body that holds your physical body and your mind body together. With the other 2 bodies we're going to talk further. Now into the Hindu, into the Indian traditions, the words like death seems to be used in a very rude way. You would never say someone die, because people never die. We talk about the soul, it's only the body dies. And if the body is made of food, elements, that can't die either, can it? It's just a process. If something is manifesting, it's going back to where it comes to. So that's not a death process, it's a process of evolution and process of involution. So in that concept, the death word or the decomposition end is not the right word. It's the perspective, I guess. If we're looking at something coming to end, you might say it's ending, but if you look from the different perspective, it's creating the new opportunity for something new to grow. You're digging your garden out, so you're killing lots of plants, seeds, grass, but that's a perspective for us to look from the one side. But if you look from other side, after a few weeks, once you planted new flowers, you see a new life, a new flower, a new plant, new vegetation is growing. You're creating the opportunity for something new to grow. So this pranic body actually holds it all together. So in Indian, into Hindu, and into the most of the cultural traditions, they tend to say either the soul has left or prana has left the body. And this prana, this pranic body, this energy body is bounded to our physical existence. And this is one of the reasons that the Hindus, the monks, the sadhus, when they realize this connection between the body and then the prana, the attraction it has, it holds together. When they realize that, they worked out like we need to get rid of body as soon as we can, and this is why the Hindus choose to burn the body. And there are many other cultures where they understand this concept of pranic body. Though all those cultures decided that they want to get rid of this dead body once the soul has left as soon as it can, to free the soul, to free the life. So the prana which is holding your soul, holding your life, is not attracted to the body anymore. And there is a kind of explanation why we associate like all these graveyards and things a bit scary, like there might be lots of souls, lots of spirits, lots of ghosts wandering around there. It explains that there is attraction, the prana has the bondage, has the attraction to this physical body. So in any culture where they understood this idea, this principle, they choose to get rid of the body, to completely finish it earliest to the point of death possible. Now it's quite hard in many ways, and also quite good the way society works. Like the Hindus, ideally we would love or prefer to get the whole ceremony done within the same day. So say if you leave your body before midday, the family, the society would love to get your body into the fire before sunset. You might only get 5-6 hours to get everything organized, and people still are pretty efficient, unless you got families very close that they can't get into that time. But still, I can tell you, like my parents, they will leave at some point, but if that happens, and if I can't get there within 24 hours, it doesn't matter how close I am. The society will find it offensive to wait for that longer. So this pranic body actually holds the attraction, and it holds your life, your soul, your spirit, your consciousness into this body. Now as we talking about this in form of energy, now when we talk about energy, obviously you know that the energy got to have two particles in it. It got to have positive and negative. And this is where the concept of loma viloma comes into this pranic body. We got positive ions, we got negative ions. And this concept to me is very interesting, because if you study any spiritual tradition, we got all the similar ideas. So we got yin yang, we got tai chi, in yoga we got loma viloma, we got solar and lunar, sun and moon, or masculine, feminine. There is many terms. And I'm sure some of you might know even more of other traditions where they use same sort of terms to explain the two parts of our pranic energy or this pranamaya kosha. So this body, this pranic body, energy body we're talking about, it got positive side, it had the negative side, positive energy and negative energy. Now the positive energy we represent it with the solar or the sun energy, or the masculine energy, the pranic energy that flows into the right side. Then we have the left side energy, which is the moon, which is the viloma, or the negative, the softer side, the feminine side of the energy. Now obviously you know that, I think last time I was talking about how there is a concept of duality, the dvaitvad, where we have the two opposites working together. Now we need two opposites to come into the cycle of cause and reaction. If you don't have that duality, if you don't have the two opposites, there will be no seed for the cause, or no seed for the reason that makes you to act, experience, or respond, or react to something. And I do believe, if that cause and effect is not there, the whole universe will stand still, wouldn't it? A plant will never grow, a flower will never blossom, human being will never reproduce, animals will never reproduce, everything will just hold still into the moment. So this duality, this positive, negative, these two energies are essential, and when these two energies are attracting to each other, either when we talk about the one person or two person, There is a dynamic dance of the universe manifest through that. And for household, that's where the tantra practices, these practices comes in, that to have the perfect balance, perfect alignment. Now when I'm talking about perfect balance for household people, it does not again mean that your prana and apana, your loma, viloma, your masculine and feminine will be perfectly balanced. This practice, what it does, it actually brings the perfect balance in the energy with who you are. So if you are born into the feminine body, you will see that your femininity will gradually dominate and become more and more empowering in you. Because that is the dharma. If you think about as a human being, we're born into this body, what is our first dharma? Our dharma is to fulfill our duty into the human form we are born into. So if I'm born into a male body, that is my first duty, to fulfill all the male duties that I have to fulfill, to sustain or to look after, to support the life cycle, to support the cycle of living. In a female body, you also have the dharma to fulfill all those duties that can be only fulfilled in a female body. So this practice, this is where the first, really the benefit it does, you will find it yourself in a couple of days of practice, that you start to feel more and more empowered in yourself. As a feminine person or as a masculine person. And to me, when you start feeling that empowerment, well, I guess the confidence, that the inner joy, that happiness naturally blossom, isn't it? Because you start to feel like I'm happy with who I am. If you ask me what is the first obstacle that we face that brings suffering in our life? Inability to accept who we are. Conflicting with it, constantly fighting. Why am I woman? Why am I man? Why am I not like this? Or why am I not born into this or that body? So it brings that true connection of yourself with your own body through bringing this balance or this harmony of two energies. Now once you grow a little bit further, then obviously into the more higher yogic concept, the higher yogic ideas, you lose that complete meaning of duality, where the masculine, feminine, the prana, apana, or the loma, viloma, those energies, they don't really exist anymore. And in some ways, I guess some easy examples I can use. If you're playing with a child, or if you're just sitting down having a chat with one of your best friend, or maybe your parents or someone you're very happy to talk with, how do you or your body feels in that moment? In those moments, do you get any like a sexual appearance or sexual experience in your body? I personally would say you just don't get that. It's just not there, is it? There is no like physical attraction. If it's my child, in those moments you kind of don't really have the difference if it's a girl or a boy. As a mother or as a father, it's just a child, it's just a soul that you enjoying to play. Or you got some I'm sure we all have some best friends where the sexuality is just not there. You don't feel any kind of like worry, you don't feel any kind of fear, you don't feel any kind of attraction that you have to hold back. It's just like the relation, it's just such a true essence of our relationship, our joyfulness, or the flow of energy. You just don't have that. So the yogis talk about getting to that perfect level, to that perfect balance, where you go beyond this duality, beyond this attraction towards opposite. And the equanimity, the balance, the ease, that ease within ourselves naturally manifest. Now, a really interesting story I always like to share when I talk about this idea of this concept. Back again, some of the Vedic stories. A couple of these guys, obviously only the guys do messing around things. It's quite interesting actually. In all the Vedic stories, I've never had one story where the girls go out to mess around or do anything that's just not approved by society. Not even one story. They must be like, honestly, absolutely divine in Vedic time. Only I read like, a couple of hundred stories talking about like how the men just go out and mess around, and gradually they learn the lesson, but sometimes it's too late. That's okay. So anyway, these couple of boys, they got together and like, oh, let's go and have party. Obviously, the Indian society, the families don't approve it. So they bought lots of bottles of wine and whatever, you want to say, and then also took a couple of dancers with them. Now the party begins. As the party goes on and on, the guys, all of them got drunk. These girls, obviously, they had a bit of sense in them. They felt like this is not just going to be the dance performance here. The guys are getting a bit abusive, a bit of nasty. So when they realize that the guys are a bit over drunk, they're losing control, they somehow manage to run away. Now when the guys, they got a bit of control, bit of consciousness, they realize, oh, where they gone? We paid them money and they just left us. So they started to search them. Now in this search, as they're wandering around, they're walking around, they come to this top of one of the mountain where this great master of yoga, Gorakhnath. So the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, if we go back, read back the lineage, the masters, the Gorakhsa was the first guru who brings Hatha Yoga into that tradition, into that lineage. Wow, they come to him and he was sitting at the top of the mountain in meditation. And they requested him like, oh, have you seen 3 or 4 women running down this way? We just lost them and we're trying to find them. Now the poor guy, poor monk, he's sort of opened his eyes like, I've definitely seen 4 souls going across here, 4 lives going across. But I said, I'm not sure if they were men or women. I don't really know what you mean. How can I tell you? Now the guys, just think of them just like scratching, pulling their hair off, like, how can you not know that? Anyway, the second thing they ask him, like, oh, just tell us, were they like naked or half naked? Did they have enough clothes on or not? The poor monk again closes his eyes and he said, oh, I haven't got anything on myself, and again, to me, this body does not really matter anything. So how would I know if they had clothes on or not? And he said, oh, why are you looking for them? He said, oh, we were enjoying our night and we need to find them out. He said, there's only way to enjoy yourself by finding your own true self. So, its story goes on. Obviously, those were the first 4 disciples the master had, that he taught them to connect with themselves. But this story really shows that once you get up to that higher level of balance between the right and left, that is masculine, feminine, or the pranapana, your attitude, your experience towards other people with the duality also disappears. Then you start to see that divine higher consciousness, that higher place in each and every person. So the highest kind of the principle behind this loma viloma stage is taking our energy, the balance to that level, that you start to have access to that pure essence that we all carry as an internal soul or eternal soul, which is asexual, I guess that's the word I can use here. The soul is not male or female. It's beyond our physical manifestation. So this pranic body, then we go through the pranic body, we come to the 4th body, which is Vijnanamaya kosha. Now Vijnanamaya kosha, again, to understand that one, I kind of use the simple example, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense why this Vijnanamaya kosha is there. The Vijnanamaya kosha, just think of it as a seed of the universe, seed of a plant, seed of a flower.
Sorry, could you say the 4th one again?
Vijnanamaya. So the Vijnana is the wisdom or the intellectual body.
Thank you.
I haven't checked, but this is all in your books. I can tell you the page numbers in a minute. So the Vijnanamaya kosha, just think of it as the seed of a plant, seed of a tree. What does seed holds? What does seed have? I guess it has all the wisdom it needs to grow into a tree, to grow into a life. Think of human life. It comes together with an egg and a semen. So those two seeds, when they come together, they form a new cell, and that cell at that level holds all the wisdom, all the intellect, all the physical, chemical, psychological concepts and ideas we need to grow into a human life. So if you think of this intellectual body, the Vijnanamaya kosha has that intellect that any life needs, anything that exists, that needs to be who that thing is, who that person is, who that living being is. Can you think of yourself as like, think of you don't have that intellectual thing with you and your body is just growing all different bits and different parts every day. One morning you wake up and you got 16 hands, all different places. So think of this wisdom body actually has the right kind of knowledge, right kind of wisdom that as an individual person, your body needs, as an individual plant, this plant needs its own wisdom. If you get the wisdom of banana, think what will grow into it tomorrow. If a mango tree is given the wisdom of watermelon, this is what's happening in modern modified plantation, isn't it? And this is why it's not healthy to eat, it's not healthy to kind of take it in any form. Because it's not the wisdom, it's not the quality it was inherited with the birth when it comes to existence. So I believe if you start thinking like that, hopefully it makes sense that we do actually need this intellectual, this Vijnanamaya kosha that holds all that wisdom you need to grow into a person. Even just think of your physical body. Well, your physical body is not mine, is it?
No.
Maybe you are a woman, but you're sitting in middle of two other women. Your body is not like them at all.
So are you talking on a cellular level?
You can, I don't know, it's really hard to use the exact words where you want to go. You can go into the DNA level, or you can talk into a bigger energy level. Because to me, what we're consuming is not only the physical food, is it?
No.
We are also consuming thoughts, we are also consuming light, we are also consuming energy, we're consuming our communication, we're consuming smiles from people, we're consuming someone looking down at us, someone saying nice things, someone saying not nice things, all affecting our physical, our mental, psychic appearance. I personally would not want to directly say only the cellular level or the DNA. Otherwise, I would have used the word DNA, because that's what the science is saying. There is a DNA code which carries all our hereditary characters. I do believe this intellectual body we're talking has a little bit more than that. Because I know we're trying to, we scientifically trying to explain things which I don't disagree with it. We say, okay, let's talk about chakras, then we want to associate them with the endocrine system, which makes sense. We want to associate them with our plexus, the nerve plexus we have. Similar way, we want to associate them with different organs, different functions. But in a true sense, as we're talking, they all exist into this energy body. They're not in physical body. So we can associate them, but you can't really sort of use the word at cellular level to me, because we're talking about physical body. Now we're talking into intellectual body. And this is why I use the word. So the seed, you can't really say the seed and the tree are same.
No.
Even though, yes, the tree comes from the seed and you can't really divide it. So if you use the word seed in that form, that carries.
And even if you know the type of the tree, you're not going to know exactly what the tree is going to look like.
No.
It's the same as
Same as the human body, we don't know. So this intellectual body holds all that intellectual, just say chemical, physical, psychological formulas we need to grow into the person who we are. And then we have the highest body, the purest form of body, which is the bliss body, or the Atman, the soul, the spirit, Anandamaya kosha. Anand, like joyfulness.
Soulfulness.
Joy, like happiness. But
Is it like is this the 5 bodies then? Is that our aura? Is that what that is? Or is that something? Is that?
yeah, the aura, I would say more like you can associate aura with just the pranic body.
Right.
Because we talk about energy, and then when we talk about energy radiates, and when it radiates, it creates colors, it creates different patterns. So I would associate more the aura with the pranic body. And obviously, where the pranic body comes from, the aura comes from your physical body. So then you can say you associate with it, and it will change the colors, it will change the radiance the moment your state of mind changes.
And you've got vibration, haven't you? Got it?
Yeah. So yeah, you can associate the aura easily with the pranic body, but again, I would leave it for now. Because I think if you want to talk on the aura, then we should really completely talk on that, really get into that. And if I start talking on that, you will just confuse everything, more than helpful. So back into now, so the last body, the highest, the purest body is our Anandamaya kosha, which you can translate as the body of joy or body of soul or the bliss. And as in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says this body is pure, it's eternal, it's always unaffected or untouched, even though it seems like it's being covered by all other 4 bodies. But in one of the Upanishads, I love that example. He said, just think, you light a candle, you put a glass on it, then you put a little bit of semi-permeable membrane on it, so still there is a little bit of light reflection. Then you put something a little bit more darker, and then you put something completely dark on it.
So that's your body and your
So if you're looking at them now, you open your eyes and see there is nothing inside, is it? There is no light. But if we can't see it, it does not mean the light is not there. And even though we can't see with our eyes, still, once you've taken all the layers, the light is still
the light is still
inside, and is still unaffected of
Yeah.
all those layers, is it? It's not affected, is it? It's just covered, but it's unaffected. So I believe if you start thinking like that, so there's this soul body, this Atman, this consciousness we talk about, it is that pure light. Maybe it's covered with the cells of our mental, physical, and all this stuff we're talking about, but inside it's pure. And more we clear ourselves, obviously the glow becomes brighter and brighter, or more and more vibrant. And the brighter it becomes, vibrant it becomes, our access to it becomes easier too. And this is why the cleansing practices, this clearing our mind, clearing our thoughts, being more and more relaxed, calm, these practices have been put huge emphasis in yoga. So think of these, honestly, these contemplative, these philosophical practices we're talking here, these are actually taking these layers off gradually, so we can have some access to this light, this wisdom, this consciousness we carry with us.
All of those bodies contained within Prakriti rather than Purusa. Are they part of are they all the bodies seen as material but different levels of subtlety? Or is the final one, the Atman, is that part?
That's part of the Purusa, the consciousness. Yeah, and also some traditions, they say even the intellectual body is also part of the higher consciousness. And I think to me, this is why I was trying to use the word seed, even though seed is there, but seed is not really, much to do with earth or much to do with air and all these material things. But when it comes to in contact with the right situation, right elements, it manifests. It manifests a tree. So think of that intellectual body as part of this transition between the Prakriti and the Purusa, and it really brings things together in the way they are. But again, the intellect, in that level, we're not talking about this intellect we're learning, is still unaffected of our thought processes or our learning.
It's in an innate wisdom.
Yeah. It is eternal and it's there, you want it or not. The only thing we trying to create through meditation, through pranayama, through hatha yoga and through these contemplative practices, have access to it. And this is what, in some of the traditions, some of the scriptures they talk about, that, we all think that we are so great in thinking.
It's your mind that messes everything up.
But it says if you can have one of your own thought in one life, that will make you a superhuman being. Just one of your pure individual thought. Because those thoughts will come from this intellectual body. All other thoughts we are constantly going through, as constantly being put into us through our sensory input that we're receiving. We're thinking, what we're hearing, what we're listening, what we're talking, what other people are doing, or what we're seeing around us. That's all our thoughts are created around that. And this is why the yogic contemplations are there. We trying to sit back and think, Sivoham, 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 Soham. So you're starting to put new thoughts in you, that I'm that pure bliss, I'm that pure consciousness. And hopefully gradually, from thinking, from contemplating, hopefully it will become our experience at some point. We just constantly breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So hopefully at some point our mind will transcend from that breathing in, breathing out into a healthiest, a perfect exchange between the universal and the internal, isn't it? What breath in that concept? We think of inspiro, expiro, breathing in prana, breathing out darkness. But you're not breathing out darkness, you're actually doing the fair exchange. There is a potential energy, you're taking it in, you're consuming it, and universe doesn't like that, does it? What you take, you got to give it back. So then you giving your potential back into the universe. So this is how the pranayama, these practices, hopefully if we keep doing it, at some point we will have access to that fair balance, fair exchange, and whenever we get into that fair things in life, it does bring peace, doesn't it? It's kind of, to me, these ideas, there's many ways to think how these practices bring such a joyfulness, such a connection with ourselves. When you start contemplating about them, and then you see, yes, there is a perfectly scientific explanation. But then I also think why yogis made it so mystic. I believe because mysticism has a huge attraction to people. We all like to kind of follow things we don't know. It brings a bit of excitement, it brings a bit of thrill, doesn't it? If you talk to lots of people, I love adventure. If you say like, I'm suffering mentally, what shall I do? Even the doctors say, go for a holiday, go for somewhere different. Have a change. Because it brings excitement, it brings a bit of thrill, it brings a little bit of fear, a little bit of that excitement, which helps us to change or transform our physical, our mental and psychological being. But hopefully these practices we really talking about here into the pranic and apanic, the loma, viloma concept, I can tell you they are quite amazing. Now some of the things Swamiji does say, he said as the life will progress, if you still want to be very healthy and look after yourself, now he talking regarding the pollution. Now just not the pollution of food, pollution of air, pollution of water. Now we also got pollution of thoughts, pollution of intellectual energy. Then we got the new pollutions, pollution of these radioactive vibrations, the Wi-Fi, internet, the TV signals, and all these things. It's just messing up our health. So he said that the only people who want to really be healthy and strong, they got to practice. He does recommend, said in end of towards 20th century, everyone must practice loma viloma series, the physical practice, the pranayama, and the visualization. And he said by doing that you can protect yourself from all the harmful radiations as their intensity will grow.
Was he saying to do it daily?
Yes.
That's a lot.
No, it's not. He does say you can choose 1, you can choose 2, you can choose 3, you can
okay.
choose 4. So it's not actually lots.
Not the whole series then?
No, you can
just
you
do
can
a
choose 1,
portion.
yeah.
Okay.
So the way Swamiji taught, like he always said, you should have like a weekly practice where you got days particularly designated. So he in Assam, and they still follow it. So the Thursday is a Loma Viloma series, and I think Wednesday, if you ask Deepika, because she's just been there, she can tell you. And there is a Wednesday or Tuesday, I'm not sure, don't take me literally, talk to her maybe. There is a day of Hatina, so that's how he used to do. There is a different days to do every week, and then along with that you can add and reduce the amount of practices. Because he said one practice is not enough for every day, because your body is not only the respiratory system, is it? So you can't do Hatinas every day. In long term, maybe for a month, for a time being, it's okay, but after that, do it once in a week. Other days you do something else, you do little different practice. But then the pranayama, that's how I did after sun salutations, to just give you insight in the evenings. That's what I would do. Just do 3 rounds of each step. That takes us 3 to 5 minutes. So that's not a long practice.
Yeah, and we're learning that. I mean, certain ones for confidence, certain ones to sort of alleviate any past karmic stuff. I mean, this is what we're learning, isn't it? This is what we're doing. So if we,
So yeah, just finding that kind of right sort of time, right sort of energy and intention. And I do recommend a couple of things. You just got to try to do them as like a serious sadhana. Swamiji recommends like as a sadhana, then whatever practice you take, you got to practice it 27 days in a row to really get most out of it. So then what I would do, like, when I'm going through something, I choose, okay, my Hatinas month. Now, I might choose to I might, instead of like thinking, I'm going to do every day the whole thing. No, I might not do that. I might do some days sun salutations, but I take one posture out of each series 1, 2, 3, 4 for lower lungs, the mid lungs, upper lungs, and then the complete. So that means I can squeeze it all down to 10 minutes around the other practice. Same thing with the Loma Viloma series. I want to practice it for a month. Okay, I might give 2 or 3 days every week completely to that practice. But then other days, I might decide I want to do 84 rounds of Vedic Surya Namaskar, but I want to finish it with the Loma Viloma series. So I might feel, I think series 1 and series 2 is just perfect. Some days I feel much more stronger. Series 1 is too easy. I might jump into series 3 or series 4.
Right.
So you can actually,
I get it.
yeah, so that practice becomes the key aspect of your sadhana. Around that, you can choose the same thing. Once we done the first part of lesson plan, we'll talk on to the second part, where you're not only making lesson plan for your week, but you also make a lesson plan for a month or maybe a couple of months sadhana with the group. So in that long-term lesson plan, say if you're doing a 6-week training, you might think, okay, with this group I want to work on a variation of sun salutation, or maybe I want to work with them with a forward stretch, back bend. So you choose 5-6 postures around that theme, and those postures you keep them every class you're teaching, and around everything else you're just playing around, you're changing different. So even though you are progressing in something, but you're also working on your body as a whole, not just the one part.
It's like, because I usually, when I'm doing my holy practice, I always incorporate like the complete breath happiness. So it's all of it. It's not the whole build up to it. So
no, but I think in beginning, while you're on the course, it's better that way, because we want all of you to learn each set as a complete, because that will make your life much easier when we talk about making lesson plans from these. Because otherwise you might just think like, what does he mean? What does he mean with the set 1, set 2? Because then at some point you should be able to just sit down and think like, okay, so maybe I'm just going to do Aruna Surya Namaskar, and then I might do set 4 of Hatenas, and I'm going to finish with set 4 or 3 of Loma Viloma series, or I might do the one part of this, one part of that. So you need to learn each set really well, so you would not need to work too hard at the end, as Samantha was saying, do I have to remember all the lesson plans? Because if you remember the practices as a set, and each set to me, it's really got the perfect balance of counterbalancing, working on different ways in its own way. So as long as we're taking the chunks of them, you are quite safe, and you're working also onto the holistic, the energy ideas, energy concepts, or the principles that really we want to work on. And that also targets the physical benefits. But I guess I will stop about the pranic body here for now. If anyone has got any questions, anything that you feel you want to talk, ask, or share, it's all yours now. Otherwise you all can go to bed. And did Deepika say what time she's meeting with you all in the morning? Oh. That's a bit cheeky. I thought she's coming out to teach in the morning. But anyway, it's fine. I don't mind. I'm quite happy. Soon you all will be teaching in the morning. Quite excited about that. But don't worry yet. We'll build into that. So what time? Shall we say 6 o'clock? 6:30.
I'm usually in, I don't know, 6:30.
6:30. Okay. Yeah, we've got quite a bit of busy day again tomorrow, because we've got the morning session, then the breakfast, then Caroline is coming to another anatomy and physiology session, and then hopefully I would like to run through. I think the Veerbhadrasana series should be now fine for you all to just get on with it, I believe, because you've got like straightforward movements anyway. So hopefully I can start introducing gently into the Rishikesh Surya Namaskar, and because once we learn that, then I want to also work on at least one sort of dynamic lesson plan for us all, really, so you can also stand in competition with some of the physical schools of yoga, but in a more holistic way, with the holistic principles and ideas. Because I personally, you see, I like gentle work, I like breathing work, I can meditate all night, but also I do love the physical practice. I don't ever feel like I can live without it. So we'll work on that too. So yeah, let's start maybe introducing gently into one more variation, and then yeah, hopefully you all can lead us through the Aruna Surya Namaskar and Vedic Surya Namaskar. And this is how we're going to gradually really get down properly into a couple of these variations. Because I think, to me, once you have learned these 4 variations, then the rest of the dynamic lesson planning will be really, really easy. All I have to do, I have to teach you a couple of postures in each series, and you can see, you can put them in your own ways. You can make your own sets of practices, and as Swamiji always said, he used to say, we don't create disciples or students, we create masters and teachers. So that's why we want to create teachers, not students. So hopefully, once you understand them, you can sort of be creative and put things together. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu sarve janaha sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.